Hey there everybody, thanks for stopping by. Today's video is going to be nice and quick. We're just going to be talking about the new solar panel, the 350 watt that I stuck on top of the Pajero. Took it and swapped it out for the 235 that was there. We're also going to have a quick look at the DC-DC charger and just see what sort of current we're pulling out of that. We'll do a couple of quick tests just using that solar panel, the DC-DC charger, the inner drive in there, and then the induction cooker, just so we can draw some power out of it and see what sort of current we're pulling out of there. I've got a nice little cup holder that I want to show that we're going to install in the video as well. If you follow the channel, you would have seen that the other week, or the last video, we installed the aux beam switch panel. Now, the aux beam switch panel is still working really well. My additional steady lights have turned up and I've got them all mounted up. Unfortunately, the cheapy LEDs cubes, I pulled up the other day next to a mate. He said, "Hey, you know your light's full of water?" And I went, "Bullshit, don't tell me," because I thought it was one of the steadies. And he's gone, no, it's the one at the front. And it turns out it was one of those. So have a look at that. You can see this thing's nearly half full of water. So I'll be getting in contact with the supplier, shooting them a video of that and a couple of pictures and saying money back, thanks very much. The steadies are all up, they're all working really good. The switch panel's working really good. I've thrown a Codan antenna on the front, so that's going to be swapping out the tar heel at the back. So I've just gone with a Codan, which is supposedly military spec. At this stage, I've tested it and whatever, but I haven't finished wiring it all up. And that's about it for now, but we're almost out of COVID. But New South Wales here, certainly regional New South Wales, is just about out of COVID restrictions. So we're almost allowed to start travelling, you know, in the area and go camping like that. So hopefully we'll have some videos coming up for that real soon. So let's get in and get this video started, eh? So I'm just out doing a little bit of testing. I've got something that I want to add to the back of the Pajero that I've been wanting to do for quite some time. I'm going to do some quick testing of the new solar panel. Put a 350 watt solar panel on the top of the Pajero, swapped out the 235, so for about an extra 10 centimeters length, and I think it was about 4 centimeters width extra, I gained 115 watts. So I figured that was worth it. 39 inches or 99 centimeters, 103 or 40.5 inches, so there's an extra 4 centimeters in width, so nearly 2 inches. Height wise, 65 inches or 165 centimeters versus say 69 or about 175. Based on the fact that I don't angle that panel, it's a fixed panel and it's flat, so it doesn't always get the direct sunlight. So I'm working off the premise that I'm never going to get maximum output from it, and I'm accepting of that, other than wanting to get the most panel I can up there. I've got the understanding obviously that anything that I put out is going to probably operate 20-30% less, you know, I don't know, at a guesstimate, than what it would be if it was angled up at the sun. Probably even less than that. So I figure with the 350 watt solar panel up there, I'm probably getting close to the 250 odd watts that I had up there. The reason I want the larger panel is not necessarily for summer days when I'm out camping. It always comes in handy for that. We've now got the 300 odd amp hours of lithium battery in there. But in winter, the car's parked down the side of the house here and it doesn't get a lot of sun, very minimal sun, and that fridge runs 24/7. We've also got the auxiliary aux beam switch panel that's connected up and always lit up as per that previous video, install video there if you want to go and have a look at that. In winter, daylight, you know, the day's shortened, doesn't get a lot of direct sun, so I need as much solar up there as I can. So anyway, 350 watts now on the roof. Haven't actually seen what's the maximum output I'm going to get out of the solar panel yet, coming through the inner drive DC-DC charger. I am going to do some additional wiring and I'm going to put that top panel on a separate charger. I've got a Victron, but the Victron I've got to 75/15. Now I'm expecting to see higher than 15 amps out of that solar panel. I've already seen 15 coming through that, and that wasn't with direct sun. It's been really good. So what I'm going to do is, I think I need to go with, I think it's the 130, I think, to get the 30 amps. I'm going to wire that up as a permanent connection to the battery. That way I can have the Victron running off the solar panel while I'm driving, getting sun, and the DC-DC charger can be putting in its 40-50 amps there as well. I have seen around about 44-45 amps as a maximum being put into the battery whilst I'm driving, so I've been really happy with that. But if I can top that up with another 15-20 amps while I'm driving, that would be handy. So anyway, get into the point, and we're going to take our induction cooker, we're going to hook that up to the King's inverter and turn it on, just so I'm drawing some decent power out of that. I just want to see what the solar panel is doing. So you want to come and have a look? Stick around. Still the best thing I've ever put in the car. I've got to tell you, if you've got a four-wheel drive, you've got a battery set up, fair dinkum, grab yourself a fridge. So I'll just give you a quick look at how this is operating at the moment. I don't have the induction cooker permanently wired in or mounted as yet. That's on the plans. I've just got to try and figure out how to get it mounted in the table so it's permanent. So just take the little extension cord that I've got, just like a nice little travel one, works really well. It unrolls, it's got the little lips on it to hold the cable in, does USB as well. So this just plugs into the Kings. Turn the Kings on, and I just run that up out here. So what I am going to do is eventually just mount it in the corner here, and then the induction cooker will be permanently mounted, and it'll just plug in that way. We can plug that in there. So that's how I've been rolling. That's how I've been doing it at this stage. So that's our 1000 watts there. It's still showing the battery is full, obviously. The battery was at 13.7, but it's dropped to 13.4, and we're showing about 18 amps. So the sun isn't quite directly overhead. We've also got the DALI BMS, which is the Bluetooth version. I've got to say, I was going to connect the Bluetooth up to the dash, the Android head unit, and it just wouldn't connect. The iDoing would not find it at all, so I don't know what's going on there. But you can see at the moment we are currently pulling 75 amps thereabouts, which is around about the 90 amps that I would expect to see for pulling 1000 watts out of the induction cooker, minus obviously whatever the solar panel's putting in. Turn the induction cooker off. We'll just see how quickly that responds. Okay, so it's dropped off and it's gone back to 13.5 amps going in. I'm just going to see whether that's going to line up with what the DC-DC charger says. I've always had a bit of a discrepancy between the BMS, what it says on Bluetooth, and then what the DC-DC charger says there. Now that might be because I've got everything going to ground and not everything's going direct to that shunt, so that may be a possibility why I'm getting discrepancy in reading, but I'm not too concerned really. So the shunt itself saying 98.1, the BMS is saying 98, so I'm happy that those are reading pretty close. So then that's showing 13.6 going into the battery as well. About a 4 amp difference, discrepancy between what the DC-DC charger thinks is outputting and then what we're seeing on the BMS and another controller here. That's showing 13.77, that's showing 13.9, so they're pretty close. As is, if I'm running the induction cooker to around about the 1000 watts, which is where I'm happy to run it, we've got the solar panel, we're parked in the sun. I can put out the Fox wing, give myself some coverage, so I've got shade. I'm not cooking in the direct sun, but we're solar panels are getting direct sun, pulling out about 20 amps out of that. So we'll be drawing around about the 70 amps out of the batteries, just as the basic install. That gives me around about 4 hours cooking to deplete those batteries, working for around about the 1000 watts. And that's not going to happen. Normally, 15, 20 minutes, half an hour or something like that. I'm lucky to draw it down to about 80-85% is what I typically see for cooking a meal. Because the induction cooker is just that much more efficient, so much more efficient than cooking with gas, I've got to tell you. Once I get the Victron charger in, I have the 20 amps coming out of the 350 watts on top, and I'll have the 250 watts I think they are, folding solar panels that I can plug into that I'll be able to plug into an Anderson plug on the back of the car. That'll go into the EnerDrive DC-DC charger. So we'll be chucking another 10, 12 something amps in there. So we're chucking in around about the 30 amps just from solar when I'm pulled up. But if we're pulling up for lunch, I'll be more than happy with that solar panel just to do its thing. DC-DC charger will have me pulling up at 100%. And again, once we get that rewired, that's going to happen so much quicker with the 20 odd amps coming off the top as well. I'm starting to be quite pleased with the setup. Not only do I have the battery capacity now, I'm starting to get really close to where I'm happy with the balance between the battery capacity and how quickly I can get them charged. So I'll just chuck that back on and we'll give you a quick look at this cup holder. Now I'm happy with it in some sense and others I'm not. Quite happy with the build and how it works and all that sort of stuff. What I'm not happy with is that it's fairly sharp around some of the edges and probably needs to be filed down a little bit. How it works is that it's not a permanent fixture. So you have this mounting bracket which screws in wherever you want to put it, and then you have a little hook on the end, and that obviously hooks in, and that firms up once you've got that mounted against something, and then that folds up like that, that folds down like that. Yep, that's alright. Because I didn't want to be using my counter space while I'm cooking for a can of drink, I wanted to put something up here so I can get a can up out of the way. Okay, let's just go up here. Let's get it done. And that way if I get a second one, I can put a second one over here. Hook her in. And job is a good one. So that's alright. Yeah, okay, so we're not, but what I could do, I don't have to take that off, I can just fold her up. And that'll be fine. And now that I've got that one, I think I'm inclined to go and get a second one and put that up there as well. The other thing I want to touch on just quickly is I'm about 30 subscribers away from hitting 10,000. I'm going to do just probably a Q&A, a thank you video coming up for the 10,000 once we hit it. Probably be less than a week. A Q&A video next week to say thanks for the 10,000 subscribers, maybe just an update on the channel, that sort of stuff. So if you've got any questions you want to fire at me that I can answer in that video, we'll do a Q&A video as well. Feel free to put any questions down the bottom and I'll get back to you in next week's video when we hit 10,000 subscribers, and we'll just do a quick Q&A. Any questions about the Pajero stuff, don't make it mechanical type questions, but if you want to know any specifics about my Pajero or my experience with YouTube, anything about me in particular that you want to know, as odd as that may be, or pretty much anything that I've done, any past videos or something like that you want to know about, performance of the channel, how much money it pays, those sorts of questions. I know that interests people sometimes. What sort of camera gear I'll use, whatever. Basically, guys, I don't get embarrassed and I don't have any boundaries, so feel free to literally ask me anything. I don't care. The one thing I don't want to do in that video is turn it into, you know, I've got this wrong with my Pajero, how do I fix it, or something like that. It's not going to be that sort of Q&A. So we get out of lockdown here in a couple of days. So by the time I get some time off next week, I've got to go back to work. I'm off from Friday, so I might be able to take myself camping. We might be able to do a walk around of the Pajero and do the Q&A at the same time. Get any questions you've got down below, any comments, all that sort of stuff. But it's nice to see you back again. Anyway, thanks very much for stopping by. I know it wasn't the greatest video today, but we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.